You can do this, Yoon?
Yeah.
You think you're the Dark trick?
Yeah, I'm Daradog. No, Daradog is 6th place.
His team noob.
Yeah, he yellow here.
Expect his parling. Exile's in egg form. Perkz just keeps it happening, and Trick secures first blood in the mid lane.
I'm TPing in. They should take this fight.
I'm just ulting here.
I'll take.
He got ulted. Blood, someone kill Blood. Blood. Nice.
Mithy goes down, Exile finishes him off, and Perkz was trying to take 3 kills at once right there. Gets the egg, but will it be enough to finish the kill? It is. Perkz takes down Exile, gives his life over to move.
Go in. Nice.
I can exhaust.
Go.
Nice. Bro behind us. Not behind us.
We only get reprieves. Trick is coming in, looking for Veritas. They get the shutdown on the move, and they keep on charging through. The Unicorns are melting away like nothing. For now, the series leads 1-0. Well, that game didn't lack for hype. Welcome back, everybody, to the ULCS studios. We're about to get into Game 2 of the semifinal between the Unicorns of Love and G2 Esports. Of course, with dynamic side selection, Unicorns are picking the blue side. We'll see how things change this time around. But I think one thing definitely won't change. We'll see a lot more kills.
I hope so. If we have more games to come, I hope we don't get 0-0s. I've actually never seen a 0-0 game ever. So I do agree, Pyra. We will get more kills.
Dynamic side selection, what did we write on the paper, Divisio? Catch me up to speed. We talked about this a few minutes. We always like to theory.
So I actually wrote Tom Kench first.
Which is there.
Which is, you guys will see it in a moment.
He did write
right
it.
There.
Fair credit
It
to
is
him.
on the paper.
It's the only one he wrote for Unicorns,
It
so
is.
he doesn't know what else they're banned.
Because I think the other 2 bans I wrote for G2 was Shen and Rise. We see the Rise here. I still don't agree with the Malzahar ban, but again, it might be because they don't want to have Perkz last picking it against a potential Vlad. GP
that will
ban
be
as
a
well.
problem
Okay.
this time.
Lots open that wasn't. Rek'Sai, Sivir, still up. The Shen is still available, which I feel like has to be
you have
the
to ban
last
Shen
ban
here almost.
from
Ban
G2.
Shen. Give a potential Rek'Sai over.
Ooh, hang on, it's come through on our screen. Ashe is the ban here, so Rek'Sai or Shen, G2 will get at least 2 power picks now. So if Shen goes over, they get the Rek'Sai, they get the Sivir.
Shen's locked
if
first.
G2 wants that.
Yeah, and also I guess G2 can run Gnar against the Shen top if they want to. Definitely should be Sivir here from them. And then Rek'Sai, I also agree with you, James, on that one. And there should be 2 solid picks. So G2 actually okay trading away what a lot of people consider the strongest pick right now. And banned in almost every game the Shen for 2 other power picks for them as a team. And this does mean Chachi will not be able to carry the game by winning his lane and like snowballing out of control. Shen doesn't have any bad matchups, but he doesn't destroy anyone in lane either specifically. He's the kind of guy who helps his team. He's fantastic if you have a great bot lane. You know, put a Shen with that great bot lane if you want to run like a bulldozer comp.
Oh, yeah. We'll see what they decide to pick up. I mean, so far, so predicted. The Sivir coming out with the Rek'Sai, they'll have a lot of mobility over on the side of G2 Esports, taking that trade over Unicorns. See what they show in their hand on second rotation. A lot of junglers up and available, not a whole lot banned, so the Gragas removed could be the one coming in.
This is a very interesting rotation here because Lucian you can obviously play into Sivir, try and get the laning phase advantage. But after that, unless you're going the new Essence Reaver or the old Essence Reaver build, you start to run out of damage. And with a Shen already there, you're not getting it from top lane.
So what I think Unicorns is trying to do here is to create a bully lane 2v2 as you mentioned, and then have the Shen to kind of snowball it even further. So like one Shen hits level 6, you can play very aggressive, a Shen ulti down to the bottom lane and set up these tower dives very easily. Because now again, Chachi is removed from a straight up carry, which clearly was the plan from G2, being like, we don't care if you get Shen because then Chachi cannot win the game on his own. He needs now carries to do it for him and he will then back them up. So suddenly, Veritas is actually the man we're looking at on this Lucian who has to win his laning phase because Lucian gets outscaled by Sivir so easily.
There's one thing that may go to his benefit here if G2 decide they want to counterpick mid, or at least attempt to, in this meta. The Cassidin is available should they want it. It does then put the presence on that bottom lane, because if you get the winning support matchup as well, it makes it very, very tricky.
Yeah, but as we talked about with the Gnar coming in against the Shen, it is going to be the answer for expect, and you can obviously show it now because you already know it's Shen, and you save, in this case, the blind pick. Trundle is still a very good laner down the bottom lane, and it's only really range support he struggles hard against, so Karma could actually come in here from Hylissang, or Bard, one of the 2, to try and play this 2v2 bully lane with the Shen ulti to back them up. So one of the, either Bard or Karma, is what I'm looking at. Might just be Braum, though, and he plays it a little bit safer.
We don't see a lot of Trundle support in Europe anymore. The reason they picked it is because it would be good into Sivir, and picking any other support would basically kind of give Unicorns 2 winning pieces of a matchup there. We're seeing a couple of other picks be hovered over for support.
Okay, Taric potentially wouldn't really stomp the lane as hard.
Well, they lock it.
But Taric is actually not that great into Sivir. It's very hard to stun the Sivir with Spell Shield. But Lucian obviously beats the Sivir. Taric traditionally has a fine laning phase against melee supports, but so does Trundle. So definitely not a lane where G2 will get completely destroyed down the bottom lane. Mithy and Zven are used to playing these lanes where they have to kind of outplay the opponent a little bit, and they will be under pressure from ganks and enemy top laner. Another thing about the Trundle, by the way, great pick against Shen. Oh, you want to build full tank? Well, you know, Trundle ulti.
And the thing is, looking at this into the Kassadin, we may very well see the likes of the Talia here if Perkz has it in his back pocket. We may see that matchup. Kassadin being a roaming mid laner, you want to try and match that if you can, or at least have Punish to push out the wave and punish Kassadin any time that he tries to move out, so you can take his turret, or at least force him to lose farm. So we're looking for a mid laner that fits one of those 2 realms here, rather than something like a Karma that's going to sit back.
Yeah, we'll see what he decides to lock in. Last couple of seconds, still hovering on the Cassiopeia, but he switches it over, and it's going to be the Lysandra.
There's a Roma. Teleport, the ability to start fights. You can cross a lot of paths on the Rift, get into little aspects of the team fights that a lot of other mid laners can't. Kassadin, however, later on is going to have a lot more damage.
Yeah, Perkz is sacrificing himself a little bit for the team here. Not having, seems like, any traditional counter picks for Kassadin. There's very few in the current meta.
There were so many mids banned away, but this is actually the first time we're seeing Perkz on Lysandra this entire split.
So the thing for Perkz is, yes, he can push early on in the laning phase, but Kassadin can last hit pretty easily on the turret. Yep, it's more once you get outside of laning phase. Kassadin won't die to your full combo as a Lysandra, and he will have a Shen ulti as well as backup, and he will stick to you. So it will be difficult for G2 in that sense to then play against the Kassadin side lane, but you have the Gnar with Black Cleaver who's going to try and push in the Shen on top side after the laning phase, and as long as Perkz doesn't get caught out in lane, he can have a much bigger impact in these mid-game team fights, which is where G2 still have a very strong comp.
They have a great setup with the Sivir, the Gnar, a lot of big picks for the team fighting. You mentioned that we haven't seen him play at this split. I guarantee you he's played it in scrims. Lysandra has been such a big
I'm just going to say you're probably right.
Hey, look, the desk talked the other day about how, you know, if you haven't seen it being played, doesn't mean they don't play it. I'm just highlighting. It's not a...
Just not on the big stage. We'll see if it comes out. Now, if you guys at home think that G2 is going to knock this one out of the park as well, keep on tweeting at LOL Esports is the place. Hashtag G2 win for a 2-0 steal to move forward in this series. But if you think the Unicorns of Love are going to fire right on back, hashtag UOL win. Let's find out. Let's get into game. We're ready already. Enough waiting. Let's load up onto the Rift.
Baited. But we are in game. And we are watching a Unicorns of Love team. Surprised me a little bit with support choice, I will admit that. Obviously is good against comps that will all in you, the Taric, but they didn't even know Lysandra was coming as the last pick. And now we get to see one new things on this patch where you don't need to ward up for invades anymore. You can send multiple members to the bottom lane. They're hoping that right now Hylissang will walk into this bush and try and set up his own little trap, then find 4 members.
This is a deadly game of chicken. G2 with the brush. They're going to step right in instantly. Vizicsacsi are out of there.
Just checking.
Gave the game away.
So often, though, you see teams just send a support down and he just rushes into the next bush. But right there, he dies.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, depending on what Perkz skills, we haven't actually got that on our screen right now, but that's the thing, is even if the ward goes down, you know Perkz can go in. Like, that's enough of a signal that somebody's there that they can look to capitalize. One thing Unicorns have to be very, very careful of in this game is if they fall too far behind, they will hemorrhage objectives. With the Kassadin, with the Shen, 2 picks not particularly known for their ability to push back waves very quickly. So G2 with a Lysandra, Sivir, 2 picks that are very well known, with a Gnar as well, could end up taking full control of the map against the Unicorns. So,
well, that's a bit different.
Mithy on his own, roaming in to stop the camp from being taken. Only 1 small one went over to Veritas, while Zven was actually pulling for Trick
And-
at the Grump.
I think this is a bit of an interesting play that comes from having the 4 people in the bush. This is probably something they practiced in scrims, knowing there's no ward there. So they know that Zven... so there's no way Unicorns can know that Zven is so far away at that point, so you can't really all in on mithy effectively at that point. It's not something we've seen before, so maybe we'll see it again and it'll have a different effect, but that's what I would assume from the beginning.
See how that one works
Well,
out.
I mean, in this case, even though it's just mithy going in, like, it's enough to stop you from doing that one Crooks specifically. And Zven just stayed back and pulled for his jungler, so it's not bad. Top lane,
Oh boy,
yeah, Shen is, again,
he hurts.
Shen is this champion who doesn't lose lane to anything at all, can actually go even against almost everything, and then because of how impactful his ulti is in a matter where the other globals are 4.5 seconds and his is 2.5 seconds, it's a big difference in how quickly you can join a fight. Trick is looking for a very early gank here on Chachi. He's still level 2 and he's going for it.
Okay, Chachi, can he get out there? The flash, but he taunts right forward. Trick is going to take a tower shot, and that was a flash burn by Trick for nothing of Chachi's.
Ooh, watch out in the bottom lane.
Meanwhile,
Exhaust used.
Yeah, Veritas stopped up by the pillars, getting clubbed over the head a few more times. Mithy's taking a bite out of him. Can they get the outplay? Perkz here. So his move. First blood. It's going to go over to Hylissang, and that TP's canceled.
Unicorns punishing G2's desire to get the damage out. mithy was going forward. Zven tried to heal him, but unfortunately as they pull back, Move is in the right place at the right time, and for what Trick tried to do in the top lane, Move just does it a little bit better on the bottom side.
Yeah, so not only does Unicorns pull off the gank, also some problems for G2 individually, like Expect flashing up there. He thought he had just enough time left on Meganar to try and maybe land a stun and force Chachi to flash himself. He ended up flashing into Mininar, and then he was like, oh, okay, and he walked away. So that was a wasted flash on top side. Bottom lane as well, losing 2 summoners. No flashes, luckily, for G2, but still giving up that first blood
Yeah,
to
first
Unicorns
blood.
of Love.
So, a decent little bit of a lead for them to start things off here. Exileh just happy to survive it out in the mid lane. That's the quiet one we'll worry about a little bit later on. Expected about hit Mininar or Meganar again, but Chachi has been holding strong here, as you said yourself, not losing any matchups here. Exileh, he's going to have to get a flash out. He does, but will he get away? No, not today. It's Perkz that claims the kill.
Good move in the mid lane here from G2. One of the big things about Kassadin, we all know it, pre-level 6. Easy target to gank normally, and good lockdown here from Perkz. And they need to keep this Kassadin down, because once you get to this mid to late game, no one is going to stop him in the side lanes. However, G2 have enough engage, I feel, to not really care about him sitting in that side lane specifically and look to force team fights with Perkz, with Expect, and of course a Sivir ulti from Zven.
Very fast-paced start to this game. Jungle is trying to get in multiple lanes already, and we already have 2 kills on the board. Unicorns, of course, a little further ahead. When you look at the CS difference down in the bottom lane, Veritas having that extra time in lane after getting the kill is able to extend the lead for himself. And Hylissang doing a good job of zoning away. No vision in that bush, so don't want to run into a wild Taric stun coming out of there.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing we're seeing a lot more of lately, and the Taric coming up and proving itself very valuable with the people that have mastered that timing on the ultimate, as well as a number of other things. It's nice to see it come out. It's nice to see people using it a little bit more, and Hylissang is one of those guys that's kind of always put it in his pocket.
Zven just lost a lot of his health on that trade.
Oh, yeah.
Weirdly also getting caught by a couple of stray skill shots that typically we start seeing him dodge, but Trick, however, is going to come down into the bottom lane, try and help them out a bit there. I think Hylissang has the feeling that it's there. You can see him coming up to the river just to try and get any vision that they can without any wards in their inventory for now.
Yeah, problem for G2 is they have absolutely zero idea of where Move is on the map. So while he could technically have tunneled over and actually tried to gank Hylissang, there's a pink ward behind Unicorns and there's zero deep vision across the map. If Gragas is there, well, that backfires quickly because you have no flash on your Rek'Sai, and then suddenly Trick is going down. So you need that full information. You need to know where the enemy jungle is, otherwise it's not worth it to risk everything in these early ganks.
Oh, man.
He's around mid lane now with the Gragas.
Okay, comes on in. Exileh, he is caught up, but Move is here this time. The Frozen Tomb comes down, and Exileh had managed to rift walk away, so Perkz will not get the kill this time.
Yeah, sorry, we're post-level 6 now, so killing Exileh just became that much harder as the Unicorns want to get this lead extended in the bottom lane. Time and time again trying to trade here. You can see here comes Move from the side. He's not quite in range yet.
I mean, this is what we talked about in Champs. So, like, when you pick the Lucian into Sivir, it's to win that 2v2 bottom lane. It's to use the fact you have a Shen ulti top, you have a TP mid lane as well in Kassadin, and then you start trying to apply global pressure plus a Lucian to shut down Sivir in her laning phase and take that first tower. So they have to be able to continue pushing with Veritas. Otherwise, he's not going to have an impact late game.
Oh, here comes the Shen
He has
with
the Shen
Gragas.
dive.
Yeah. Submarining his way on in. Mithy is caught up under the tower now, and he is surrounded by Unicorns. Perkz comes in. He does get a good stop off for just a second, and Chachi is thwarted. Hylissang on the other side of the tower. Exileh coming down, and he's even bringing Trick to the party. That will be no kills.
Really solid defense there out of G2. That was a very treacherous situation, having the Shen plus the Gragas, but move only level 5, does not have his ultimate, and you could see Zven got himself away from the situation very early on. I feel like that's the kind of situation we'd see a lot of teams end up dropping a kill or two on either side from a messy dive. Both teams back themselves away. Unicorns maintain a slight lead though.
So while Unicorns would have loved to pick up a kill here, they now have 2 minutes on the Shen ulti. There are no flashes on the side of G2. There's no teleport from Perkz either. So in about 2 minutes time from now, we might see exactly the same play happen. A way out for G2 is if they can manage to push out this bottom lane and then swap to top side. Problem is, Unicorns are not allowing them to push out. They're going for Zven.
Ooh. Sven's a little bit low on health as well as mana right now.
Yeah, as long as Unicorns keep them on the tower here, then G2 can't really properly swap and then go to top side, because they will be really far behind then in the tempo, with Unicorns always recalling first after pushing this lane. And now they're just waiting for Chachi's ulti, for Exileh's teleport, and then we get a party in the bottom lane again, but this time with no summoners on the side of G2.
And Zven is having to play this with a lot of respect for Hylissang, because every time he moves forward for the Dazzle, that's a 15-second cooldown. Zven's spell shield is 22 seconds, which means the next time there's a 7-second window where Zven has to give complete respect, because if he gets locked down, no flash, no heal, means no life for Zven in that bottom lane if they get caught out. So there's a big timing window for Hylissang to get an engage, and that's why they're playing so far back.
And Veritas does have his ulti now. It's really good against Sivir. You can block one of the calling spells, well, who cares? You're going to get like 7, 8 others hitting you right after. It's very little Sivir can do against Lucian at this point here. So again, Unicorns, they're keeping the pressure going. They're not allowing G2 to try and recall and potentially swap away from this lane. They want to set up another dive. Ulti from Chachi is 30 seconds away. Teleport from Exileh, just a few seconds. They might just go early. Tricky here, though.
Yeah, the Gromp's even coming to the party now. There goes the Taric ulti. It's on. Hylissang just manages to get it. Takes a little bit of damage. They have to back off now with Trick there. Meanwhile, back up in the top side, it just keeps on dueling, but Expect's got some minions to block for him for this time.
A little bit early for Unicorns. Obviously didn't expect Trick to be down here.
Exileh going in on Perkz, though. Wow, he gets really aggressive, really fast. Rift walks in on him, and he actually doesn't manage to finish it off. Doesn't get enough damage in. Move was there, but not nearly close enough.
Yeah, we're already getting to the point where Perkz can't really burst down a Kassadin at all with the stacking HP, with the extra damage reduction to magic. So suddenly, this Kassadin will be free to kind of go wherever he wants. But we're still looking at the bottom lane. We're still looking at Shen with TP now. Exileh with TP. Zven and Mithy are the targets.
And Exileh having TP is exactly what he's trying to punish Perkz for in that situation. He wants to try and force Perkz back away from the lane, so that if Exileh TP's out, Perkz can't punish him quick enough. Can't push it all the way to the tower.
And G2 might actually finally get a chance to push out the lane, because Hylissang recall, so they got to push it now. They can recall themselves, get an item advantage, and then look to potentially go topside if they want to avoid this potential dive. Chachi taking a lot of damage.
Oh, and he's got no shadow dash. In comes Trick, flashing in. That should finish the job, but he's still ticking. Trick is incredibly low, but a big Gnar comes in from Expect to finish the job.
Shoves him into the wall to pick himself up the kill. And that's the top side of the map going over to G2. And again, this could be a situation where G2 are managing to push down the turret quick enough. Expect has enough of a wave there.
Yeah, but G2's bottom lane have to be very careful on bottom side. When you make a play top lane, always expect a cross-map play to happen.
Just gets it.
He gets it just in time.
Ooh. Wow, that was really close. So first break is to G2. Very close on this gold game.
And that is so huge for G2 that Expect managed to chunk down Chachi, set up that potential dive with Trick. Meaning you don't have to even swap anywhere. Just stay back on bottom side, let them take your tower, and no Shen TP, Kassadin TP, 4v2 dive against no summoners on bottom side. Flashes are soon to be ready. G2 just avoided a potential disaster.
Yeah, it's going to get even rougher for Chachi up on the top
I
side,
think
too.
that's potential like 500 times now. Let's drop that word.
It's okay. The potential's about to become real. As Expect picks up his Black Cleaver. So Exileh trying to push down in the mid. They keep trying to get the picks out here on the bottom side. Mithy and Zven are there without the tower's support. But the first tower went in favor of G2. The first Drake hasn't really been looked at too much. It is just Ocean, not quite as valuable for either of these teams. It's been a bit late even in the previous game. But since we're well past that 10-minute mark, 12 into this game right now, G2 still looking good. Right where they want to be.
It is a matter as well, though. We see a lot less early dragons because it's all about getting down these early towers here. If you lose the first tower, you want to catch your own tower so you at least somewhat even out the goal. You don't want to fall too far behind, suddenly be half an item down.
No early dragons, but that's an early Rift Herald right now when you look at the timing on it. Going over to that Gnar.
Yeah, we talked about how important Gnar is against Shen. Going for that Black Cleaver build. Shred the armor, get a Rift Herald buff now. The way you play against Shen or teams draft against Shen, like there's two options. Either one, you try and match globals, and then you kind of outscale them. That's where GP comes in with the global ulti and the scaling. Or you pick like split pushing against them. So Gnar with Black Cleaver, give him early Rift Herald, like that's a great split pusher. Shen can't do anything now in that lane. So it's on Unicorns of Love, as we said in Champs League, to make a play on the other side of the map. But they went too early down bottom lane, but they didn't have Shen ulti yet. Found Trick, backed away, Hylissang recalled because he got chunked. And suddenly G2 could camp top lane and not die in bottom lane. And everything kind of slowed down.
They do get the stun off onto Perkz, however. Nice use of the dazzle. But in comes Mithy, throws the pillar onto Exileh. He dumps right back into Perkz, and he's got the Shen coming in. Do they have the damage to finish him off? They don't. They will get a stun off onto Trick. Thunder Barrel flying, but it's just a parting shot.
Really nice little combination there to get the Rift to work on with the dazzle. They were able to at least force Perkz back away under tower. Perkz does have his TP available though this time around, so we'll see whether he does answer with that. As G2 trying to just not lose control too much of their jungle. He's going to TP mid to try and hold this tower. There's 3 people here.
Yeah, but they get the taunt on. Instantly, Perkz just gets knocked against the wall. Exileh picks up the kill, and it's a brawl in mid lane. Mithy getting charged down. A double for the Kassadin. He's going to get rolling, and Shanti tanks the line.
That was the exact mistake Wonder made yesterday.
Expect is in the back, and even Hylissang gets one.
I feel like we're looking at game 1 again, where G2 is actually doing some good moves in the early game, and then face palming.
Perkz tries to hold the mid tower, TPs into 4 people that were in vision, and the Unicorns just go, okay, we'll take that fight. G2 stick around. Expect looks like he TP'd in a little later than Perkz, perhaps. We're going to check the replay. We'll see exactly when Expect comes into this fight. Perkz just completes that. I guess feels like he can ult, does have it available.
Perkz Qs first when he arrives instead of just spam ulting himself, meaning by him queuing, he delays his own ulti, so now Chachi can taunt him, and then he can't ulti. If he just TPs in, straight up ultis on himself, doesn't even queue in the first place, he gets to ult himself and he doesn't get taunted. One of the things that changed with teleport in recent patches is also that you always appear closest to your nexus when you do TP. So Chachi knew exactly where Perkz would arrive when he TP'd to that tower. But with Perkz trying to queue first, delays his own ulti, got taunted, and he dies. I'm not even sure if Chachi could time the taunt perfectly and maybe hit him anyway. But if you had time to queue, you had time to ulti yourself.
Another mistake here for G2 and for their mid laner. Causes them a kill. And Exileh, he's caught up, but he does manage to just barely escape. Perkz is going to follow through on that one. Flashing, but he might just give his life. Not got the cooldown just yet, but it's only Move who's tracking him. It'll come right back up, and he's about to join Mithy. They do get the dazzle off. Pillar comes in. Hylissang on the chase. Move gets the belly bop up, and they're looking to keep fighting this one out. Trick now is going to force Move to flash away.
Unicorns again a little over committing here as Move was trying to go forward. G2, nice reaction play to try and force out the mid lane. As Unicorns, they were trying to just continue a little bit with Veritas to get himself farming up. Interestingly enough, this is the largest deficit we've seen from Zven at 15 minutes in standard lanes this split. And, you know, we were talking about how we didn't feel like the Unicorns could hang in the 2v2 against Zven and mithy. Well, it doesn't matter about the 2v2 when G2 are getting everybody in the mix in the mid lane, I guess. Taking out Exileh, able to take him out.
But it is an interesting thing to see G2's bottom lane not really... It is a hard matchup, but they usually are able to outplay, and we come into this talking about how Zven and mithy are just the best bot lane in the West. They're going to be able to crush just about anybody they hang with. But Unicorns are showing up.
And in that play, you could see that Veritas was still down in the bottom lane trying to extend his farm lead and trying to push things out, when in reality, this is where Exileh should be bot, like he is now. This is where Lucian should be more towards the mid lane, holding that on, because that's where he's going to be able to just continue pushing back out. Exileh got punished for being in the mid lane with no real wave clear, no ability to get out, and G2 get themselves a pickup in response.
And we have seen some adaptations or changes in the way Perkz likes to build in the mid lane. Last game, he obviously went for the very standard build on Vladimir, but in this game, let's see what happens after Hylissang. Never mind. Nothing actually happens. Well, support are trading, and mithy playing a dangerous game here.
Ooh, I do love me some supportal combat, but they got backup.
But what Perkz have done here, a lot of players would like rush Abyssal Scepter very early on against like Gragas, Kassadin, these heavy AP picks here. But he's actually just gone Negatron Cloak, and then he started to rush in towards his second item. So first item was Negatron Cloak, and then he went like Magic Penetration Boots, Protobelt. Now he might go Abyssal Scepter, just much later. Trying to get a bit more of a punch, because Abyssal Scepter, after the changes to it, it also happened quite a few patches ago, doesn't give that much AP instantly. It's actually a very heavy defensive item. It gives 60 MR, which is a lot for first item, but then also doesn't give that much AP. He's gone for a little bit more damage route here. Felt like he could survive with just a Negatron Cloak, and got that early Protobelt, which is so huge for that early game damage.
Well, we'll see if it turns out to be the right choice for him. Unicorns here, meanwhile, it looked like they were going to be in a holding pattern for a second, but Exileh gets caught on by Perkz. Frozen Tomb thrown down on him. Can he Rift walk away in time? In comes the Big Gnar, and Expectus, he's trying to get out of there. Exileh is just trying to escape, but they turn the fight right back around with a whole bunch of members. Move Crabs Expect on the back of it. Even the Gromp wants to get involved.
This is going to be a big problem for G2 if they cannot kill Exileh before the Taric ultimate locks. He's going to survive and deal so much in fights.
But honestly, G2 should not be trying to attack the Kassadin. That's exactly what
Ooh,
you
whoa, burst on, right on his Zven. Exileh deletes him. They take down Trick, and mithy's exhausted. They're going all in for it right now. Not enough to finish the job. Well, Perkz is still there, but that will be the inner tower.
If you try and attack a split pusher with Shen on his team, you allow the Shen to be such a strong pick, because he will always just ulti in on that specific target. Normally when you play against these globals, you attack either the globals or you try and team fight your way out. Perkz, with this Lissandra, is not here to try and win the side lane 1v1. He has to surrender the side lane against Kassadin every time. This obviously is a good engage from Unicorn, so it's not G2 trying to fight it at first. But then the TP in, they could have disengaged. They could have just walked back to tower and said, you know what, boys, that's it. But they decide to take the fight. Now Shen ulti shows up, and this is exactly what Unicorns want. Great way for Chachi to enter the fight. Exileh doesn't get bursted down because there is no burst damage on G2. You have this Lissandra to try and force teamfights with TP ins and then like flank the enemy team.
And then
fighting in the bottom lane is just allowing Unicorns to play their comp.
And that is why you see a lot of Shen bans.
Against Chachi specifically
Yes.
as well, because if you're in range of him while he's going to have flash available, that taunt flash is coming out every single time. Zven didn't manage to get the spell shield off. He just was not expecting it by the looks of it.
And this is where we don't know if it's miscommunication as a team. And they're like calling for Expect to not TP, but he goes anyway because he thinks it's the right move. Because as soon as he channeled TP, Perkz was out. Can't.
Yeah?
Like, I know obviously it means Shen will have a global advantage, but actually even before he TP'd, Perkz was already out. He already walked back towards his tower. Blows all cooldowns of Lissandra. So she's not in the fight anymore. She's not able to enter. And rest of Unicorns were already there. Like, really easy for them to win that fight. Take a bot lane tower as well. Great play so far with this Shen.
Yeah.
And Kassadin is now set up to be this monster in this game.
They can always outnumber G2, and this is what Unicorns are using to their advantage. We're 20 minutes into this game. The goal lead is about 2,000, which may not seem like all that much, but Unicorns have shown what they can do with it so far. 8 kills to 3 on the mark, and they just keep pushing further and further into territory. It's going to be a little while before it's reasonable. That Baron is a big risk, but Unicorns, they might pull the trigger sooner than some.
But if you consider that the way Veritas is built is the Ghostblade Black Cleaver build, which means he's going to be very, very strong up until that 2 point and exceptionally strong once he gets that second item. But every item subsequent will start to do less and less and have less effectiveness in fights. G2, therefore, if they can burst down the Kassadin, removes significant proportions of the damage that Unicorns have. Now, I just said the words burst down a Kassadin with a Taric on his team. Not very easy, but if it can be done, team fights for G2.
A little bit more than that. Chachi trying to hang. Oh, taunts the boulder! Finishes him off, and they Expect just walks away.
Perfect here for G2. As we talked about, it's really hard to make a play away from the Shen. I guess if your top laner can solo him, it's perfect. The Black Cleaver
Can't
Gnar,
TP while you're dead.
exactly, Black Cleaver Gnar with Rift Herald buff. That is G2's way to play around this Shen. Is just let Expect sit in that side lane and try and bully him. Great play from him getting the kill. And now no Shen for another 10 seconds.
Well, no Shen, no problem! Chachi, or rather, Veritas takes out Zven. Chachi's still coming up. I don't know what I'm on about.
I mean, Move was just sat there for so long with Veritas, and they say, okay, well, as soon as Sven gets to this point, burst him down, didn't get the chance to spell shield properly, didn't get the chance to flash. Sven, again, caught out. 2 deaths have been just Unicorns of Love being able to flash in on him and kill him quicker than he can get away.
Let's praise Unicorns of Love and their vision control in this game here. Double pink ward around the mid lane, allowing them to set up these picks around the river, where G2 can never push past the river in mid, because then suddenly 3 guys shows up. Enemy jungle was warded, so they knew where everyone from G2 was on the map. Great setup coming from the darkness. And Unicorns of Love, despite losing Chachi, are still winning on the other side of the map.
Yep.
Kassadin, no one is going to stop Kassadin. No. You have to be able to force a fight if you're G2, because you can't just take this one-on-one against Kassadin.
Well, there goes the tower. Yeah, and Exileh, he even, as an insurance policy, started to pop that teleport, but he canceled it. Didn't even need, as soon as he saw Zven was just going to get deleted. So Unicorns keep on rolling through. They've got 4 towers now, and G2 have only been able to find the top tower. That was the first tower, but still, it's not going to be enough. They need to start finding fights. They need to start getting picked off.
And they have very strong fight potential. You look at the Lissandra, the Sivir, the Gnar, all paired together. We do also have the Tiamat coming out from Rek'Sai, so we'll have damage in the fights as well if they get on a squishy target. So Unicorns have to be careful of the fighting potential from G2. So this vision control will help them avoid the fights. But again, it's all on playing clean around that.
Yeah, technically Unicorns of Love should never be in a situation now where G2 gets a great engage or a great fight.
Yeah.
Like, Unicorns should always be able to react or know exactly what's happening and kind of tailor it in their advantage. Because minimap, river, it's all blue. Because the river's blue, but also because the wards from Unicorns of Love are there.
Which means you can't even see him.
There is 0 wards from G2 past the river. Not even in the river. So they have 0 information on dragons, barons, where G2 or Unicorns, are moving when they enter the jungles. You can't really see it properly. That means you play really far back on the map. Like, playing against 1-3-1 when you have no vision control is just so hard because every lane is under pressure.
And you can see them losing ground here. The other issue is Expect, because how early they took that Rift Herald, it's already expired, so Chachi might feel like he can take the one-on-one right now a little bit more.
We got another 8 minutes, I believe, on Expect. It was taking around that 12-minute mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. My math is off.
It's okay. You forgot to carry a 1.
Yes.
That's all. It
I
actually
didn't multiply by 2. Never mind. So it's still rough for Chachi.
But this is what he needs to do,
Sorry, bro.
Try and get that tower down, get some gold for his team, because this is the only lane G2 is winning. That's the bottom lane. They're losing mid against Lucian with Sivir. They're losing top against Kassadin. Unicorns at the same time, they should be able to force something on top side. When you have this Kassadin pushing in top lane, potentially roam towards mid, or you start baiting around Baron. Yes, it's early on in the game, but you do it just to force a fight where Kassadin and Shen can then TP in behind G2.
And normally this would be the time when I'd be saying, yeah, but it's because there's no vision control there. But look at what Unicorns have on the top side. They already have the deep wards there that allow you to bounce between top and mid lane. You can see them there. Thank you very much, observers, for showing us exactly how much vision control. So typically this would be enough to move between lanes. Hylissang, however, recalled and wasn't there. So it was only Veritas and Move that was that 2-man pack, and that is not safe enough to go that deep in the G2 jungle against the likes of Lissandra, the Rek'Sai, the Sivir.
But the other option then for Unicorns, like when you look at this 1-3-1 and you have full vision control, the other thing is actually ulting for Mithy here.
Yeah, just go on in. They do not get the taunt off, but they look for Mithy. The barrel will knock him right up against the pit, and Move takes him out. No quick enough response from G2 Esports.
If he thought he finally had a chance to take down a pink ward, it's been annoying him for such a long time.
Not today.
Sadly, there's a Shen in the game, and Hylissang, together with Chachi, able to force the flash and then move with the good ulti after. Unicorns of Love continuing the pressure, have a numbers advantage, and this way you start chipping away on turrets. Gotta keep in mind, when you have comps like Gragas and Taric, you can tower dive.
Oh, yeah.
Really effectively as well. When you do this push and pull technique, where if G2 ever sits with just one member top, or Kassadin can just move through the jungle because you have vision, and you just dive mid lane. Because you know Shen is gonna jump before Gnar. And you know Kassadin is going to jump before Lissandra because Kassadin can move first. You just 5v3 mid lane and you just destroy G2, take their mid tower. If you don't want to set up baits or can around Baron.
And that also transitions into a lot of the entrances around the lane as well. If you catch somebody in one of those small pathways transitioning, the dive is on as well. You just catch them, take them out, and suddenly you've got the full control. Thanks to the stats people behind stage, I've been told Hylissang so far has done more damage than Trick in this game, and Trick is going Tiamat. So this is why, look at him, Hylissang getting in there, getting a couple of autos off on mithy. mithy was not long for that world after that, though. 4 members of the Unicorns going to be able to take him out very easily.
Yeah. He's back up, but he might walk a little bit more carefully. So another dragon taken out by Unicorns. The map control that they have been able to establish for themselves really paying off there. Move able to take it down with the help of Veritas. Next dragon, going to be Infernal, still some time before that happens.
Yeah, and if we pan the camera over to the Baron pit now, you can see how mithy got to place 2 wards outside the pit. Just for everyone at home here, normally when teams are setting up Baron, they put the pink in the Baron pit. It will not see these wards around the corner of the walls. So what G2 is hoping for is that Unicorns don't think about it and put actually a sweeper outside or a pink ward outside the Baron pit to spot the ward, and then you can always see if they're moving in towards it. Oftentimes you can see if they're actually doing it, because people tend to think about the ward being there. And that's a way for G2 to buy a little bit more time and maybe try and surprise Unicorns if they are starting Baron.
Uh-oh. Well,
that's
there's one down.
One sweeper. Let's see if he gets the other one.
Well, let's see if Chachi gets away. He's
he's
fine.
moving there. He gets it. Luke is too smart. He sweeps outside.
Sorry, G2. Not your lucky day.
That's an oldie but a goodie, those wards that you put there.
Yeah, those are ward clears you can cheer for, by the way. Expect is going all in on this one, but it's not going to be enough for Chachi to escape, even with the flash.
I mean, you can argue the damage reduction plus the added damage there from the Rift Herald buff may have been what just turned that around and caused Chachi to die without really trading effectively against Expect. But Expect, again, is hammering this matchup.
We still need to see Unicorns be way more proactive. Like, you're actually allowing G2 right now to just sit on 1v1 Shen. With the Rift Herald now, with the Black Cleaver and everything. And there's no reaction right now from the Unicorns. mithy has placed another ward, by the way, outside.
Just like right when
exactly
Move
the same
walks
ward.
away.
Let's see if Move is ready here for round 2 of sweeping outside the Baron pit. Or maybe Hylissang gets it this time. He's around it. He's popped the sweeper. He found the ward. He's trying his hardest. Trying to hide these wards around. But the fact that Unicorns haven't been able to set up anything around Baron, haven't been able to set up anything really around, tower dives with Kassadin, Gragas, Taric, these picks that are really good at going quickly in. Bob one target, you got Body Slam Flash, you got Taric ulti, you got Kassadin single target. G2 have been allowed to just sit and defend tier 2 towers for the last 8 minutes. And just have Expect 1v1 Chachi twice. This is just Unicorns not being active enough on either forcing the Baron play to take the fight, or setting up a tower dive where you can always move first as the Unicorns. Remember, guys, 2.5 second channel from Chachi to 4.5 on Expect, and a Kassadin who has priority in lane, so he can always move first. Means you have a 4v3 or 5v3 for at least 2 seconds before G2 can react.
And all of this time is allowing Zven to power up. He's getting closer to that Infinity Edge, getting a 3rd item, just is going to be able to output so much damage when a team fight happens, as long as he doesn't get engaged upon. Last 2 times we've seen a fight, Zven has been flashed on and killed, and Unicorns are going to try and rush this. They got a Mountain Drake.
Mithy's stuck in another one, but because Unicorns actually dashed over the wall, he didn't get to see them just yet, but now you see guys missing on the map.
Nars assisting. Yep, it's going to be the reveal, but will they get there in time? Chachi's coming. There's no smite available. It's going to get secured by Move. They managed the sneak.
False sense of security, leaving the ward this time. Sweep it out twice. This time go over the back of the wall.
They can't be there.
Unicorns, that will now force the issue for G2. That now is going to have to force some sort of a reaction coming out from G2. Unicorns, from what you were talking about, the dive, they still can do it, but they now don't need to quite as much. I mean, Exileh can push out a side lane. You've got the main pack of Unicorns pushing up in the mid lane, and the same with Chachi, he can push out a side lane. So suddenly, G2 are now going to lose control without being dove, and that is a very dangerous spot to be in.
Oh yeah, 31 minutes into this game. The gold lead, about 3,000 for them. It has been fairly close for most of the game, but the next Dragon's coming up. It is indeed Infernal. Unicorns have had the control of the objectives on the map.
So funny thing happened there with that Baron play. Obviously, Gragas decided to jump over the wall behind Baron, so the ward will not spot him. Veritas walked into the river, But because he dashed over that little corner of the Baron pit from the river into the Baron, the ward didn't actually see him. So that meant G2 were like, all right, they're obviously not on the Baron. Or at least they didn't know exactly when they started the Baron. They knew later when 2 guys were missing for such a long time. But they just didn't know in time because the ward didn't see it. Nice little dash over from Veritas as well. And then you get the Baron if you're a Unicorns for love. This was kind of the play we wanted to see.
Yeah.
To speed up the game now, not allow Chachi to just keep dying in the bottom lane. This is exactly what Unicorns want.
Starting to get a bit more here, and they can just keep on the 4-1. They get the tower, second tier in the mid. Looking to move on into the base here. G2 holding in that mid turret. The one-on-one still happening down the bottom, but Chachi's got a bit more swagger in his step this time around. Meganar's coming out for expect. He clears, or at least tries to clear with the boulder. And now the Unicorns are moving on in. They catch on Trick, and they bring everyone right into the back of the base where the turrets don't touch. Meanwhile, Perkz is going to go Frozen Tomb, but will it be enough damage? Expect gets a big gnar off, but there's no wall. Zven shuts down Exileh. Will that be enough to turn the fight? I don't think so. Veritas is coming up massive. The double kill. They're way too low. Move is going to fall, and so is Hylissang. Triple for the Sivir. And they turn it right around. The Quadra.
The dangerous dive comes out from Unicorns, and it was a little too deep. They were looking for the inhibitor turret and the inhibitor, and they go all the way into the base, and Zven remains untouched for the entire fight. Perkz ults himself, Exileh doesn't have enough time to deal with everybody, the shields wear off, and Zven has got past 3 items and just completely tears through the rest of the Unicorns. You can't leave him
What
untouched.
a swing! G2 couldn't have asked for a better fight. Not only do they win the fight, get 4 kills on the AD carry, who's a late
Take
game
off the
monster.
Baron, by the way.
They take off Baron, they get 2 mid towers, and Infernal Drake at the same time. I like the dive overall. The call here from Unicorns is perfectly fine, but now, after they end up chasing further, Perkz buys time, and no one is now getting onto Zven. Zven is just sitting behind the team. Great ulti here from Expect, and a good re-engage from G2. AD carry still left untouched, and while it's a good taunt from Chachi,
Great knockup.
the AD carry is
Nobody
still sitting there.
touches Zven.
This Sivir is still sitting here, bouncing, critting.
In that fight, Exileh used his 2nd or 3rd Rift Walk on Perkz while he was in the Frozen Tomb. He went onto the mid laner instead of going for Zven, and look at that damage!
It's actually over 9,000. Crazy enough. From Zven.
Yeah, Sven's getting big.
I mean, if you let a Sivir sit there, you're 5 members in front of her, and she just bounces everything between all 5, well, that's how it's going to look.
If that fight goes another 5 to 10 seconds, we break the graphic, because I don't know whether we got 5 digits to go on there.
No, you just have to give it over to Veritas instead on the other side.
Oh, dear. That was...
Used it.
I mean, you know, we talk during games about, you know, they can come back if this happens, and we're like a late game fight, and everybody always goes, well, you have to be so optimistic. That right there is the kind of fight that with a Sivir turns the game completely around.
Yeah. Best part about that is everyone always talks about Sivir just has to press R. That time you just had to press right click.
I definitely feel, while G2 won the fight, it was great. It was the best thing that ever happened. In this situation, it kind of just makes the game even, likely. Now you need another one of those fights because you're still under pressure. And Unicorns will hopefully talk about what just happened. I mean, like, guys, we ignored the Sivir. Shouldn't do it again. Cast it in plus Shen ulti should be able to reach that backline. There's no flash now for Zven for about 2 minutes time. G2 not really looking to fight before that, just defending again. Might have to wait for another Baron, and then Unicorns once again will have the priority to start the Baron, but then we get one of these big late game fights that decide the entire game.
I've got some good news for you, Devin.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Rift Herald buff has expired.
Yes!
So we got
finally! Chachi could go back and
a lot of
side
value,
push.
though.
I also have some bad news. Expect still can deal with Vizicsacsi. So there's that. You can still kind of push him back.
Why do you just
And
get my
force him
hopes
to
up
push
and
it?
then
Look,
crush them, Stress?
I'm trying to just make sure
Or
we've got
Chachi's
everything
hopes up.
included.
All right, it's okay. He'll deal. He's a ninja. Meanwhile, Exileh is looking for Perkz. He might be going a little too deep here. And Hylissang does get the dazzle off. They look for the tower. They are shredding right through this, and they knock Trick right back into him, straight into a calling. Veritas can't finish it off, but Exileh is bringing the Shen to really just push waves.
And not the greatest Shen ulti here from Unicorns, but they are able to get straight onto the tower. A lot of members dying. And
Oh, Perkz, he goes way deep. Exileh polishes him off like it wasn't a thing.
Same thing again, the taunt on Perkz. He couldn't ult himself. Now out comes the Taric ultimate because they just want this tower. This time they won't go further. It's the tower, potentially the inhibitor here, and they'll back away. Oh, Expect has flashed as well, but he didn't want to go on that.
No.
But Veritas just took so much damage from the ricochet that just came out from Zven.
Perfectly timed taunt before, though, from Chachi. Making sure Unicorns don't suddenly get hit by a 4-man ulti from Lissandra. Perkz goes down. Tower went down with him. But yeah, we get to see the power of late game Sivir. This game is on him. It's on Zven to win.
Oh, Trick is coming in on the move. They didn't get the back exactly the way they wanted.
It's about the Baron timing here for G2. That's what it was, is if they could get a kill or two, it opens up the Baron as an objective for them. But now Zven is going bottom lane, so G2 have to concede control of the Baron pick for now. They already had lost control of it because Unicorns had that position.
Yeah, and G2 did not get a proper ward around here. Only have the one ward next to the pink, so that's easy for Unicorns to clear. And then we get that same scenario where Unicorns have control of the river to start the Baron. Let's look at the taunt here from Chachi.
Does Perkz W first?
Perkz claws in. Oh. He protobells. He actually protobells first instead of, again, ulting himself. And then he gets taunted while he's basically in that little dash forward from the protobelt.
And even if it wasn't the ult, the Zhonya's would have sufficed, but it wouldn't have been enough because of the
He just needed a defensive move.
Yeah, exactly. He had two, but Chachi twice now has undone him.
Yeah, the best defense isn't always an offensive ability, unfortunately. So Unicorns, they get themselves out of what could have been a bad situation, and they get a tower up top. They still have the pressure on. Gold lead in their favor and Baron control. What can G2 do here?
Well, again, we have to remember late game. Lucian compared to Sivir, well, that's in favor of Sivir. I would personally also take a Gnar full late game over Shen in these team fights.
There's the Sivir.
They're going in for this fight here.
Trick, he really wants Veritas, but they couldn't find a teleport to fly. But Rimwa right in the back, and they're just going down. A shutdown onto Zven, and the rest of G2 have absolutely nothing in form of damage. That's gonna be Trick trying to make a play, distract them, push them off, but they've got 2 quick kills, and they can think about Baron.
G2 have to respect Exileh and Chachi appearing in the backline, getting onto Zven, but it's G2 charging forward in the mid lane. Way too aggressive against targets they don't even want to kill right now. And suddenly, Kassadin and Shen shows up behind. Flash does no.
And Mithy.
Mithy dies as well. G2 was still in a position to win fights, but then they overextend and get caught.
And now Chachi just has absolutely no fear. This turret's going to get cut straight on through. They can move towards the inhibitor. The death timers, they're just too long. We're almost 40 minutes into this game. They may not end it right now, but they're looking for it.
Yeah, 15 seconds.
Oh, and they got Trick. Oh, he's going down. 1, 2 more shots. Expect hopping, skipping, jumping. Back to Fountain. He's going to go Mega. No, he's going to get his GA pop. But the Nexus turrets are already going down. They're cutting right through him. Expect is trying to save the life. And in comes Zven. Does he have the shutdown? It's all Nexus. Just turn to it, boys. Just shut this one out. They just might have the damage. 40 minutes on the clock. Unicorns of love.
Unicorns taking a game in this series, going to even this up to 1 game apiece. And how did Exileh get into the back of that fight? He didn't even use the teleport.
He was just sitting. Like, he was just on top side. He walked back down because all of G2, they rushed forward trying to lock down Veritas, but he just dashed out of it. He didn't even take damage. Terragolta came down, and suddenly
Exileh.
You find yourself now overextended, and you hand this fight to the caster and being like, please, just flank us. So our AD carry has nowhere flashing away. So this time Zven could not stay alive. And we've just seen what happened when he's sitting back and they're actually forcing Unicorns to engage on them. G2 go crazy in the mid lane. And I feel like over these 2 games, we've seen G2 very often hurt themselves more than they actually help themselves with some of these calls they're making where they play into Unicorn's hand. Think about early game or mid game when they're like, let's gank the Kassadin down the bottom lane. Yeah, we could just disengage, but no, let's go for it. Shen ulti on Kassadin. 1 team fight by Unicorns. Again, another tower, big goal lead.
And the Unicorns are very comfortable in this skirmish style. This is basically what they've done for like 4 splits now for the Unicorns.
Keep handing that to them.
Exactly, and Unicorns are very good at playing with it. getting that kind of mistake coming from G2. But G2 are doing it so often. Unicorns also not really willing to make those dive plays. I want to see that a little tighter from them at the same time.
Yeah, well, as it stands, I mean, we're on 1-1 right now. Unicorns, they've taken game 2 in the semifinal over G2. They've leveled the series out, but it's been anything but. Let's check in with the analyst to break down game 2.
Thank you very much, Pyra. And that is the first game the Unicorns of Love have won versus G2, all split. And how? I want to start by taking a look at picks and bans. We all were very vocal about that. And the fact that UOL drafted a fantastic comp, but also that G2 dropped the ball here, Reckless.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just gave it to them, honestly. First of all, what bothers me the most, I think, is that they ban out the Ashe, and yet they go for the first rotation Sivir. It doesn't really, like, work hand in hand in the sense that Sivir actually does lane just well enough into the Ashe, so it makes no sense. But as you said, Veritas has been like a one-trick Ashe for a while now, so I could see, like, the sense behind it, but yeah, it still doesn't, like, come all together, you know, in the end, and it actually they ended up giving up to Shen for it as well. So I don't really see where like the priorities land there.
And also the fact that they banned out GP, which is one of the actually good lanes into the Shen, and
Unless
then
you wonder.
I guess. But then, so basically, it was just a really weird draft from G2, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Going into the first replay, of course, you already said, good draft from the Unicorns of Love, a Kassadin and a Taric and a Shen.
I mean,
that's the pain train.
And whenever I see Shen for Unicorns, you can expect Taric to come out, because like these range extension comps with Taric Sun are so good, and this is the Unicorns. This is off the back of a Shen ulti first. And Martin, you were talking once you were off air, like if you use Shen ulti, you always have to make it worth, you know?
Yeah, and also this is one of the strengths of the Lucian into Sivir matchup, I would say, is that he's constantly able to push the Sivir, so you have these opportunities where he's able to move first. And if the Sivir is to follow and the play doesn't go through for G2 in this case, then that lane will not be farmable anymore and the Lucian gets way too far ahead. And it wasn't until later stages in the game when the Sivir came into play with her 3-core. But I think, generally speaking, like the draft were just too heavily in favor of Unicorns. And I found it a bit weird as well that they picked the Trundle in the second rotation, but they didn't run it into the Shen, which is for me at least the second counter after the GP. And they instead picked the Gnar. That didn't.
We also have to praise UOL, especially for this mid dive. Their CC chain on Lissandra, so he couldn't use ulti or flash or anything. Was really beautiful to watch. And
Wasn't the only smart play as well. There was we have to keep going with the next replay productions telling me we have to look at the dive. And Trashy as a jungler, how smart is it that they actually get in here for a 2-man Baron and nobody spots it?
I mean, it's really good. Like right now, G2 is in a situation where what is happening on the map, right? Are they baiting? Are they doing it? We don't really have information. They can't really face check. So this situation is just really weird for them, and they probably need to play it a bit more aggressive to get the information, but they didn't, and then they just get it for free. And then when they get Nash with the Shen and Kassadin, then it will.
You think it's all over?
Yeah, it should be over, but you never know.
But it
it's UOL, right? So.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Well, we have a replay of the final failure. I think where it was a little iffy.
I think
for
this is
them.
where UOL...
Where does it go wrong, guys?
Yeah.
Well, for me as an AD, if I'm tanking the tower and lose half my HP, that's already a big problem. But I think generally speaking, like it just felt really overforced because they were able to hit the tower. But instead they go for this risky play where Sivir has picked up her core, and if you're not killing her, she's probably going to end up killing you all.
Like
which is
basically,
exactly what happened as well.
the Kassadin is R's forward, and then at that point G2 already disengaged. Just take the tower. It's free tower, right? And then fight slowly. You don't have to overreach for the Sivir. But I mean, they didn't even get to the Sivir, so that was the whole problem. So just overreach, take the free tower, and play it slow.
And commendable, the Unicorns of Love that managed to close it out. Fantastic, taking their first game off G2. All split. Something that Reckless said during us watching the game. G2 hasn't fixed the issues they had in the split coming into playoffs. Could you elaborate?
Well, I think the games are just way too much Fiesta at this point. Like, it's kind of the trademark for Unicorns, so I can understand why. And, like, it's also a winning condition for them, I would say, why the games are this way. But I feel like just G2 is not controlling it enough. And I think this game, probably it's too related to the draft. But even the last one, they could have easily cleanly finished out the game. And yet they ended up going for a couple of team fights in a row, and they weren't able to control the game that I think they should be able to at this point.
And I mean, what picks are really good for Fiestas? Shen is great, Kassadin is great. So I think next game G2 will have a completely different draft, and that will change the pace of the game, I think.
I mean, we hear that term a lot, you know, Clown Fiesta and Fiesta, but what actually defines it? Is it just like very skirmish
You spawn
heavy?
and you fight, and then you spawn again, and then you fight again, and then eventually one team is dead for too long, and then you finish the game.
Okay.
When I see Zven and mithy take a bad trade level 2 in bottom, then I know that they're not playing. They can play better than this. Like, they are a better player than dying to a 2 bot at that minute. And also, I think a bit disrespectful to pick the Trundle into the Lucian, which is kind of what
a bad
can
matchup.
What can Trundle really do?
For me as a Lucian, if I see any support playing Trundle, that's like the perfect scenario for me. You know, like I have no pressure at all in the lane against me, and especially if I'm in the matchup Lucian into the Sivir, like it's just a free game. You know, like literally just a free game for you.
Well, we'll see what happens. One thing, you're out of the predictions because you said 3-0 for G2, so you're out of that one. And I mean, the more that we talk about it, the more that what rings through in the beginning, what we said, the UOL, it would be a huge upset. And everything that G2 shows that isn't good, we're going to criticize them completely on. So.
But Vizicsacsi is a beast. I need to understand.
I think they're playing good.
Giving this guy Shen is like, you don't want to win the game. Like, I think the impact he has on Shen.
So should you just, is Vizicsacsi too good?
I mean, Gnar is a power pit, but this guy's taunts are actually insane. Like, all 3 like key phases where they won, like, they were off the back of his taunts, in my opinion. Then there was the later team fight where Cassian could, like, R onto Zven plus Shen taunt. It's impossible. No matter, you put, like, Bang there, doesn't matter what AD carry you put in that position, he's dead.
Yeah, we highlighted Vizicsacsi versus Expect in the beginning of the series, and it's netting them a win here for the UOL. We are going to recall to refill our health bars, and as we go, G2's mithy lets us in on the benefits he believes the Unicorns have on this latest patch.
I think it's better for Unicorns. I think that even though I would say our team has good laners, and work pretty. I'd say we work pretty well together around our lanes and how to snowball and just playing like to get our lanes ahead and so on. Like our 2v2 and 1v1 game is good. We're not like ultra stellar on it, or at least that's the feel I have, that we're not like insanely stellar on our 2v2 and 1v1 laning. And the fact that Unicorns macro play was was probably their weakest point. The fact that they didn't really play the lane swap scenarios and the slow paced macro games so well kind of benefit them more, because it covers more weakness for them than it covers for us. So it just overall makes the matchup more harder for us, you know.